still of a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door.
His voice is instantly familiar, yet few would recognize Alan Maitland on the street. He is one of Canada's best storytellers. Until a year ago when he retired, he was perhaps CBC Radio's finest announcer.
Good evening, I'm Alan Maitland.
Hello, I'm Michael Enright. This is As It Happens.
It was while hosting As It Happens that he developed the seasonal personas of Front Porch Al and Fireside Al. His warm story interpretations mixed beautifully with news from around the world. He has retired from the radio booth, but his audience refuses to let him stop telling stories.
His voice is, I don't know, magical. He's got this warmth or resonance, I guess, in his voice, and that's what attracts me to, I don't know, listen to him read.
Home now is Mahone Bay, a long way from the city life of Toronto, but a short distance from his rural roots.
Well, I was born in a town a hell of a lot smaller than Mahone Bay. I was born almost in the country, although we didn't farm. My father was a clergyman. And for a long, long time, I lived in the country. I don't think we had an inside toilet until I was about 16. And so I guess the small town has appealed to me in many ways since then. I like Mahone Bay, but I didn't think I was going to live in Mahone Bay at all. I saw an ad in the paper, in the Toronto paper, for a place for sale out by Jador Bay. And I came down to look at it, and I didn't like it, and the real estate guy brought me out to this house. And he said, I think you'll like this house, and I think it's for sale. So I bought it. And it's a lovely old house. I like everything about it.
Alan spent 46 years at CBC, but in the beginning had no plans of becoming an announcer.
Actually, when I went to the radio station for an interview, well, for an audition, I guess you call it, I took my piano player and a few pieces of music, but they didn't want that at all, so I just sat down and read something for them.
When you did that, when you read something for them, did lights go on in their eyes, or did something?
That's what they said. Yes, we just have to have this guy on our radio station. That was in Ottawa.
His finest contribution to CBC was the 19 years he spent in Toronto with As It Happens.
Well, it was new, for one thing. A phone-out show at the CBC was a new device. There were all kinds of phone-in shows, as you know. But this, to my knowledge, was the first really good phone-out show where we'd sit and phone people outside and get them to talk and tell us all their troubles and so on. So I think that was one of the reasons it was so popular, because it was new and different.
What about was there a combination of people working with the show that made it extra special too?
Well, Barbara Frum. They're still looking for a replacement for Barbara Frum, you know. She was a wonderful woman, and I thought the two of us got along well. She did all the work and I made it sing, you know. One of my favorite memories of Barbara Frum was as she was leaving, As It Happens, to go to the Journal, she wanted me to know, first of all, that she was leaving. And she and Murray drove out to my farm, and we sat around the kitchen table, sort of as we're doing now. And she told me, and it was a very sad day, a very emotional time. Everybody cried, had a cup of coffee, and then they went on their way. But her career flourished after that with the Journal. She did a marvelous job on the Journal. Died far too soon. Well, the story thing came along much, much later. And I don't really know exactly how it happened, excepting that I was looking for a new program idea. And our neighbor Ruth Fox came around and to the house, and I was struggling with this idea, and she said, why don't you just read to me? Read anything. I have a radio in every room in the house. Just go on and read whatever you can think of. So I put that idea in front of some people at the CBC, and they liked it. And that's how we started doing stories. What I learned about singing was the phrasing, and it's exactly the same when you read a piece. You phrase the musical phrase, and you phrase the printed word.
And how are you going to satisfy that public who wants to hear and see more of you?
I guess just go on doing what I'm doing. A few personal appearances, and I had a personal appearance at the Chester Playhouse last Christmas with my dog. She went right on the stage, and she loved every minute of it. Mm-hmm. You've not met my dog.
He's a great storyteller, a wonderful Canadian, and when his voice comes over the radio, it's just like golden kindness, you know, the golden voice of kindness. And I just look at him as a storyteller. It's a dying art, storytelling, and it just feels good. I feel Canadian when I hear him.
Alan has many stories yet to tell. Soon there'll be a Penguin book of his favorites and a fall tour with guitarist Sylvie Prue. If we cannot keep up to his pace, we can always sit back, listen, and enjoy.
When the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door.
For Maritimes Today, I'm Utpal Marshall.